Okay. Where is the YouTube link? In person, I sound me theory. I don't have it. Other than that, mm.
All right, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. If anyone is connecting with us on YouTube, please do let me know if you are seeing us now on YouTube. We want to be sure that everyone can see us, so that at least that way, can anyone please confirm to us that we are live on, that you can hear us on YouTube now?
I'm going live on YouTube.
Can anyone confirm to us that yes, I can see you guys I can see or hear? Awesome. I think I'm seeing myself too now. Aha. It's a pleasure connecting with everyone this morning. My name is Akin Kumi, regulated, regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I am based out of Calgary in Alberta. It's a pleasure to be connecting with each and every one of us again this morning uh, as well. With me this morning, I have someone who is knowledgeable. She's a lawyer out of the province of Manitoba this morning. I'm forcing myself not to say Alberta. I'm forcing myself not to say Alberta this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, for everyone, you like to ask your questions, please. You can always both. I'll be taking both questions. I'll take questions from Instagram. We're also live on Instagram this morning. Abosede, join me to welcome Abosede this morning. Thank you, Abosede, for joining us all the way from Manitoba. I'm going to let her introduce herself. I've known her for some time. She's knowledgeable when it comes to, of course, she's a lawyer in Canada as well as in Nigeria. So she's going to be telling us a couple of things we need to know when it comes to visa refusal. But just before we do that, I would want to set the base for our discussion this morning. On our YouTube channel and our Instagram page, we have been over the last few weeks, we have been looking at what pathways, what updates, what challenges have people been facing, especially when it comes to Canada visa applications. And this morning, I just want to run through quite a number of options that individuals have, especially when it comes to Canada visa. By that, I mean to say what types of visa applications, so that way we can also be able to look at how they can, of course, for those who have refusals. Last week we looked at pitfalls, what to avoid, not to have refusals. But after that, immediately we had individuals who say, I think we did all of that you mentioned, and yet our visas were refused. And so this morning, we have seen cases of permanent residence applications being refused. We have seen cases of work permit applications. That includes the LMIA exempt. That includes spousal open work permits and lots of other types of work permit applications that have been refused as well. We have seen visitors visas that has been refused. We have seen study permit applications that have also been refused. Extensions, removal orders, so many at that. For everyone who is joining us, you have questions, please ensure you just put them in the chat box. on our Instagram, as well as if the live chat is being enabled on our YouTube, please you can also endeavor to do so. And myself and Ambassador will be taking quite a number of questions as much as we can this morning. So I'm going to let her give us a background into how she ventured into becoming a lawyer in in Nigeria, as well as becoming a lawyer here in Canada. Ambassador, thank you for joining me this morning. Myself and our viewers, they are looking forward to learning from your wealth of experience this morning, and also learning to understand what they need to do should their study permit, should their visitors visa, should their permanent resident or work permit, whatever class of visa is being refused. So I'm not sure she's here. Did did I lose track? So I said I'm open to. Well, she just disconnected off. For individuals who are joining us from Instagram, I'm trying to see how we can match so that you guys can also learn from, because she's connecting through
Can you hear
our.
me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now. I was
I can't hear you. Just
Abana,
give
can
me a
you hear me?
moment. Yes, I'm sorry for that little glitch. Well,
It's absolutely fine.
good morning, everyone. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. It's afternoon here in Manitoba. It's 12:13 in Manitoba. The weather is beautiful. Now we can go out and take a walk. I mean, I think the snow is ended. It's melting. If not for this YouTube meeting, I feel like going out there on the street and shouting hallelujah. The weather is so good right now. My name is Abosede Abidemi Oladiji. I'm a lawyer from Nigeria. I'm a lawyer in Canada. I got caught to the Canadian bar when I, relocated to Canada. I came to Canada as an international student. I came to do my master's in law at the University of Manitoba. And
Mm,
I stayed a student, completed my program, got my postgrad work permit, worked for a few months, applied through the provincial nomination route, became a permanent resident. And I like to say that today I teach at that same university. I've been able to teach in a college here. I sit as a member of the program advisory committee in one of the colleges here to MITT. Um, I never wanted to go into immigration. I was just a very gentle family lawyer and tax practitioner in Nigeria. I came here to do tax. But from personal experience, my family went through a lot of rigors with the intricacies of the Canadian immigration,
mm,
which could have been avoided if we were properly guided. There weren't so many people doing it. It was just garbage in, garbage out, was a lot of trials. Yes, we ran into some glitches, but eventually we were able to figure it out. So for me, the reason why I ventured into immigration, like my colleagues know that Abasade just likes immigration alone. I am well versed in family law, in real estate law, in criminal law, in commercial law, and immigration law. But I chose immigration law because it is an opportunity to guide, to help. I've been privileged through the practice of immigration to see people get into trouble that could have been avoided. In Canada, we trade on information. What you don't know, you do not know. What you know, you know. So for me, that's why I'm into immigration practice 100% than every other area of the law. Do I know other areas of the law? Yes. Do I want to do them? Not right now. Maybe towards my retirement, I might. And we've been fortunate to appear before the federal courts in cases of judicial review, which we'll talk about later. I hope I've not taken too much of your time, Dr. Akinbade.
please go on, go on. Everyone is saying yes, yes. Move on. I like this.
So we we are here to help. I know that in Canada we try to be inclusive all over the world. So we don't rub our religion in, but I'm a believer. and I take bearing from the Bible. Joshua chapter 1, verse 14 told me to get others into the rest that I have attained. I hope I have not gone too far, but it's a ministry for me. It's a calling, it's a ministry, and we've been able to help quite a few. Thank you, sir. And it's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. From what you have said, it appears that you have also gone through some of these stages yourself, coming in as an international student, then progressing to becoming to apply through the PR, and then here you are, a permanent resident and citizen in waiting. Awesome, awesome. So, um, last week we looked at part of the pitfalls that students need to avoid um, if they must avoid having a refusal. But this today we are going to be looking at what happens with refusal. I might also want to share with you from your wealth of experience on factors that um, lead to refusal. You might want to share one or two, three with us, and then you can also take us on with what can we do if there are refusals as a practicing lawyer.
Okay, thank you, sir. There are no hard and fast rule as to what can lead to refusal. That's the truth. So that we don't begin to second guess ourselves and wonder, what did I do wrong? What didn't I do right?
Mm,
The people who handle these applications are human. They are humans and they are susceptible to errors too. So it is possible you packaged a very good application together and someone decided not to just grant it to you. I'll give you
mm,
an instance, a live instance. So there was this application we did. My firm did this application. We knew we did all we needed to do. We crossed our T's, we dotted our T's, and this
mm,
client was refused. So
mm,
we did what we're supposed to do, which we'll talk about later. We requested for the GCMS notes to
mm.
know, because the refusal letter says you have not satisfied me that you're going to leave Canada at the end of your
Of your
program.
stay.
You know, so and we're like, this person was coming as a student, right?
Yeah.
We put the letter of admission, we even paid the school fees, and we had enough POF.
Mm,
When the refusal letter came, my God, the officer said she's single, no child, no spouse, so there's nothing the person was going to come and do. Imagine if we had relied just on that refusal that says you have not satisfied me. How do you mean you have not started satisfied me, right? So
uh-huh.
we went via judicial review,
Mm,
and
mm,
there are so many cases, right? The courts in Canada have been handling a couple of a number, not couple, a number, plethora of cases, on
mm,
why you would refuse on X reason, on X reasons, right? So we did a judicial review. Basically means going to the court to ask the court to mandate the minister of immigration to ask another officer to review the application, because whoever reviewed it previously did not follow the rules. And we put it there that, tell us in the Canadian constitution where it says someone must be married or have children.
mm.
And we did that. In 2 weeks it was approved. She's a permanent resident now. I mean, the client I'm talking about. So it is
Wow.
not like there is a reason for refusal. That reason for refusal was totally unacceptable to us, right? And we
Mm,
went a step forward to review it. You could be refused if you do not, you know, give utmost attention. See, Canadian visa application is not something you just garbage in and garbage out. No, there are rules,
mm,
there are document checklists. You're coming as a student, for instance, you did not put your letter of acceptance. Maybe you uploaded your email. The first part is you get an email saying you have been accepted.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Eventually, your letter of acceptance drops. Maybe you did not include your letter of acceptance. You have to give proper details. You have to give
mm,
attention to proper details. I beg your pardon. You know, cross your T's, dot your I's.
mm.
Worst case scenario, get a consultant to give you a review. I have a toddler. If you hear sounds in the background, my toddler is about going to school. So that's him saying hello to you all. So, um, Sir, the truth is there are no s- stretched out rules as to why visas are refused. No, it could
Mm,
be for any reason. But would you try to take steps to find out the real reason, not the reason on the paper for the
mm.
refusal? Would you take time to look into the nitty gritty of the reason for the refusal via GCMS note? Requesting, for GCMS note. GCMS note means Global Case Management System. So we're
Okay.
still going there, but we're not going there now, sir.
Let,
There
let
are
me let
no.
me quickly just ask question on that. Is it possible to also request for the GCMS note and the main reasons are not still stated clearly there?
Oh yeah, not just main reasons are not stated. You would see some redacted. I mean, painted in black. You see
Uh-huh.
pages missing. You hear pages 8 to 15 removed. So when you see that, I think you could now exercise the option of going the next steps, which is judicial review, telling the court. And I find it very funny. So the
Mm,
normal citizen on the street requests for GCMS notes,
mhm.
and it comes in 85 pages, 130 something pages, 15 pages. But when a lawyer requests via judicial review, we get a one pager in a
That's it.
tabular form.
Someday of
That's it.
everything.
That's it. I do not know why that is, but it is always good. Do not accept on face value that two pager that says this application has been refused. You need to go deeper as to why. And when you know the reason, most times there are usually reasons we could meet.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So, for instance, someone gets a refusal letter. You have been able to also establish that they are generic reasons.
Yes.
It simply means that you could actually be refused for funds, whereas you had more than enough funds in your application.
Right.
So,
I mean, the last one we did, January, the
mhm,
person was refused the normal. You have not notified us. You're going back. And when we requested for the reason, we did a JR. So when you do a judicial review, we usually put it there that we do not know the reason for refusal. What the officer put there was that this person has been refused a US visa, and the officer did not give us a procedural fairness, did not give the client. Our firm didn't do the initial application, right? Did not afford them procedural fairness. That's a process by which to clarify whatever is not clear.
whatever
Like,
was not
okay,
clear. Mhm.
um,
You have applied,
you
you
have
previously
applied to
applied
the
for a US
US
visa
before,
and you did not
and that's
know.
even a ground for ban.
Yeah,
But they
5 years
never
minimum. So,
mentioned it. They just
mm-hmm.
said you're not going back. So when we requested for the real reason, it says the client was refused a US visa and did not declare it. So very simple. So we called the client. Did you? The client said, I was at a point in my life, I was at the US embassy. I applied and I got it, and I went to the US and I came back. So we requested for the visa page, the tickets, some pictures. And in law, the law says affirmanti non neganti could be probation. He who affirm must prove. So you are affirming that this person was refused the US visa. Please, could you produce the blue refusal letter or the notes from comparing information? We are saying this person applied, got, traveled, came back.
You came back.
Application was approved in less than 3 weeks when we reapplied.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so it's
So,
always good to find out.
always good. Always good.
Always.
So, we can both establish that when an individual has a refusal, the first thing is you want to know why,
Yes.
knowing the why. And that's where the GCMS note comes in.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So, assuming the individual now has a GCMS note, are you able to tell us what can be done? Uh, I mean the step by step
Okay, so I,
process.
I believe we're going now into the
Yes, please. Over to
okay.
you.
So I want to say this. I made a note here that says let me read it. If you're faced, if you're recently faced with a visa refusal, Canada visa refusal, it can be frustrating. You second guess yourself and wonder, what did I do wrong? Why me? You know.
Mm,
I'm gonna start from a story. So there was this lady. She had over $45,000 scholarship to come to Canada for a thesis-based masters, UM, UMGF, a lot of scholarships, and she applied and was refused for purpose of visit. Exactly 5 weeks after the application, purpose
Wow.
of visit. So this person thought in their mind, purpose of going to Canada is what? Study. So let's paint the scenario together. It's a real life story. Purpose of going to Canada is study. So why would you say you don't know the purpose? So this person wrote to their school and asked for another letter from the dean other than a letter of acceptance. The person uploaded letter of acceptance quite all right. So the person reapplied that same fifth week and said, in case you do not see it, see a further letter from the school. So this is the purpose of visit. Exactly 5 weeks later, this person was refused for um, insufficient funds. Now, this particular school, you do not even need to pay school fees. Imagine
For
someone who
someone
now
who has
has
a scholarship.
$45,000 scholarship. There is no avenue for you to make school fees. They've even and you have all the letters of all the funding letters. Person attached it. 5 weeks later again, I'm painting this. It's not a scenario, a true story, so that we can know that it's not like you have killed someone or you've broken a rule for your application to be refused. This person was refused 5 weeks later again, and I guess the officer saw the tenacity of the reapplication and waited till school started and refused based on lack of travel history. So this person again was still not wise enough to seek, a Canadian lawyer or immigration consultant to know what's going on. The person gathered all the funds they had and went to the UK for a 10 days holiday just to break, that reason. And when they came back, the person went online and realized, oh, you could request for what is called GCMS notes. Reached out to a couple of friends in Canada, because you can't do the request from if you're not a Canadian resident, I did not say permanent resident. You have to be resident in Canada either as a student, a worker, and the rest of the status. You must be in Canada to request for that GCMS note. So reached out to someone, they requested. The reason for refusal stated that you're coming for a very intense thesis based masters with a baby that is less than 2 years.
Wow.
The baby is less than 2 years old. So you are not coming to study. There is no way you are coming here to study with a 2 year old in a strange land for an intense research. So what did this person do? The person reapplied alone. All the application I've been telling you, the lady has been applying with her daughter. So when she applied alone, in less than 3 weeks, she was approved.
Mm.
Why am I saying this? Until she applied for GCMS, no, that was when she got her victory. It can be very frustrating, and
Mm.
I believe a lot of our friends were just applying and getting their visas, and this person was wondering, what did I do wrong? So do not frustrate. Don't get frustrated when you're refused. The first thing you want to do is get apply get an immigration lawyer, an immigration consultant. There are various ways towards the GCMS notes. Naturally, if you're doing it alone, you reach out to someone in Canada to get GCMS notes. We have our ways of doing it in our firm.
Mm.
So GCMS notes is the first step. The second step, you request and review the GCMS notes. But we found out, like Dr. Kimbadi said, we found out instances where even the real reasons are redacted, and the same reason on that piece of paper is repeated. So your confusion is doubled. The GCMS note takes time. Before it used to be 30 days. Now it could go on. I've encountered one that went on for as long as 7 months to know the reason for a refusal. So when do you now make a decision to reapply or to abandon the project coming to
Wow.
Canada?
Wow.
So the first thing is to request for GCMS note. Let's just leave it at that. Request for GCMS note. So when the GCMS note comes out and it's the more you look, the less you see. If your GCMS note does not reveal the reason for refusal, let's put it at that. You go to the next stage. Some people go for reconsideration.
Mm.
Reconsideration is basically saying the visa officer should. Um, it's faster. It's 10 days. Usually 10 to 5 days. You could get 24 hours. But the truth is, if you do not know the reason for refusal, what are you telling the visa officer to reconsider?
Mm.
Maybe except if the reason for refusal says you did not upload, there's no evidence that you can afford the school fees. And you check the application you did and realize that you did not upload your proof of funds, evidence that you paid school fees, receipts, and all that, then you can request for reconsideration. Reconsideration comes in to say, oh, Mr. Officer, please, there's this germane document you mentioned. Yes, really, I forgot to put it there. You
Mm.
don't go ask an officer to reconsider when you do not know the reason why he refused you. Imagine the lady that was refused 4 times
Four
just
times.
because she kept applying with her daughter.
Mm.
You know, I need to say something about that story I mentioned. The courts in Canada have ruled that lack of travel history is not a ground for refusal. And in
Okay.
recent times, it's no longer featuring the way it was featuring, you know, that particular year when that lady was reapplying and all that. So
Mm.
now there are stages. The first stage is to request for GCMS notes. If you have gotten the reason for the refusal, you can refire. We call reapplication refiring. Forgive my choice of words. So you can reapply, but
Mm.
make sure you address the reason. For instance, let's look at that lady scenario. Lack of purpose of visit, lack of travel history. I'm sure when the person was reapplying, each reasons were boldened to be a subheading. Lack of travel history. I have traveled to the UK. I went for 10 days. My visa page, my
Mm.
my itinerary and all that. You put all that there. You have to address everything and reapply. Do better. Some people apply with I've seen a refusal before based on lack of student plan. I mean, it can be annoying. An application that took 4 months. When it got to our table, I'm like, an application we did not do ourselves because we know we're very thorough. We would like to request for the GCMS notes. We don't
Mm.
just take a file and say, oh yeah, we can. No, no, no. We don't know. There are no guarantees that it will be approved anyway. The visa officers have wide discretions. They have wide discretions, but the court is also there to review their discretions, their discretionary power. You know, make sure whatever you do right. Okay, now we've passed the stage of GCMS note. Your GCMS note came redacted, came repeating that generic refusal reason.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see a lawyer. You need to see an immigration consultant. You need to see us at that point. You've tried, you're out of bullets. You need to see us. So, what we do, I'm going to make an instance from the law firm's perspective. What we do is we request for judicial review.
Mm.
And when it comes, so for instance, if we request for judicial review and the GCMS, it's a requirement. It's one of the documents that the minister has to send to us. The minister must send to us the reason for refusal, what you call GCMS notes. It usually comes in a pager, and we'll see the written notes of the officer. That helps us to prepare in our documentation to the court, in our memorandum to court. When that comes, that was redacted, it's very rare. I'm not saying it is impossible. I have a WhatsApp group with some colleagues of mine. We discuss strategies. Of course, as lawyers, we do client confidentiality. We don't discuss client, but we discuss strategies. I've not really encountered anyone tell me that in the process of applying for judicial review, it was redacted. Because if it is redacted, is a ground for that judicial review. That what is the officer hiding?
Mm.
So they're usually careful when it is time to appear before, because the court is the final say. The court is over us all, right? The court will make the decision. So even if we go to the court, I mean, a colleague has once told us they went to court. the minister asks that the matter be set aside. Set aside mean, oh, they've seen their error. They're saying, don't let's exhaust the entire court process, right? Let's amicable
I
settle
set it
this.
aside
The,
and settle it
yeah, the,
amicably.
the portal was opened for the person
Mhm.
to resubmit, and it was refused again. I mean, Canadian visa application process can be frustrating. That you
Mm,
applied at once and got it at once does not mean that it is a walk in the park. It's like a maze.
mm, mm,
Most
mm,
times we hear that, oh, lawyers' fees are expensive. Why don't you ask for consultation? These are
mm.
the steps I'm taking. I'm very smart. I think I can do my application myself. But could you review these things I've done? You could even get someone do it, review it for free if you have a relationship with them. Or worst case, the fee for reviewing may be
It's,
cheaper
yeah, yeah.
than even having Dr. Akinbade doing your application if you have a relationship with him. I mean, you're shaking your head, sir.
Yes, I can review. I
I'm,
review
I'm putting
applications
you on
for
the
free.
spot. So
I
you
review
can
lots of
call for a
applications.
review. Yeah. So when a professional reviews an application, it can spot where the error is. And our law office offer what is called visa refusal management.
Mm,
We do not do pro bono in this law firm, but we run what is called visa refusal management. We guide you. You've been refused. You did it yourself. You're very good. You're very smart. You know the rules. You gathered it yourself. Okay, so why don't we look at it for you? For instance, if we see that your GCMS note is redacted, we ask you, do you want us to do judicial review for you? Most times we don't. I don't know. I don't know. I'm in Nigeria, so I'm gonna use Nigeria as example. In Nigeria, we say you don't go to the court and come back as friends. That's not the way with immigration. Don't worry. Go the whole hog. If they find out that your case is bad, they're going to go through the whole process with you and watch you flout your case in court. But if they find out along the way that they are guilty, they're going to ask us, come, let's settle this in amicably. Let's set this aside. And I think we shouldn't be scared of
of
going to
going to court.
judicial review part. And at times, anyway, judicial review is expensive. I need to state it. And the
Mm,
process is lengthy. It's not like it's lengthy. It takes time. You have to make up your mind that I'm going to be patient and I'm going to be patient. You have to be patient. Nobody decides processing time for anything Canada. Sir, if I've not, I think I've painted the scenario from GCMS note to reconsideration to judicial review to let us know that there is no guarantees anywhere that, oh, once I get to court, no, I have read a case file of my colleague. It was set aside, the portal reopened for resubmission, and it was still refused.
refused. Mm, mm,
So why consider a blind reapplication? Some people like the lady I gave the scenario. That was me. That lady was me. That was my story. 4 refusals, I got it the fifth time. I was
mm.
busy doing blind reapplication until I read up what is called GCMS notes. That was my personal story. So I don't want anybody going through that kind of stress.
Wow,
And you can
wow.
see a professional, yes. Just stand by. We offer you guidance. We're confident about what we do, and we have unparalleled expertise.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I
It's
just wanted to also, throw this in. And I remember there was a time we had a case of a student who was coming to one of the universities in BC. She had over $60,000 scholarship, and she had what was going to take her, like the base minimum for her living expenses. This application was submitted, and boom, she was refused. And we saw the refusal notes, took it up, and then we decided to write to the officer and say, hey, you have asked for, you have said this person purpose of visit is not clear. You have said this person does not appear to have enough funds. And then we wrote to address this. Hey, this person has a scholarship of this X amount. This was included in the application that was submitted. This individual also has been able to establish that she has the minimum requirement in terms of funds. This person, yes, is not married. She's single. This individual, yes, doesn't have they were just two. The other brother is not even in Nigeria. So, but she's got a mom. Are you saying this mom is not enough a tie back home? And then we only had to submit that within, and then one day, boom, I saw it overturned. I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
awesome.
This is without, oftentimes when people hear reconsideration application, it doesn't mean, are you able to explain what that means in details? It simply means when we say reconsideration, does it mean they have to reapply for make a new reapplication? Because someone is asking when you say reconsideration, what does reconsideration mean?
Okay, okay. Reconsideration. Let's break it. It means reconsider. Have a rethink. An officer says they're not giving you this visa for XYZ reason, and the
Mm,
reason is something you can meet. For instance, someone refuses a visa based on the fact that you do not have a letter of acceptance and you're applying. I'm sorry we're using study permit as example because it's the most prevalent when it comes to refusal. Visa
mhm.
visa can be refused for any reason whatsoever, but we want to use the study because we know what should be in your application per time,
Application.
right?
Absolutely.
So permit us to use students study route as example. So reconsideration, because it is not all cases that are reconsidered. Someone says you were in so when we're talking about students, we're not talking about everyone outside alone. Even the people inside are affected per time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely per time. You have a study permit and your program is longer than your study permit. You want to extend. The officer can say, we have information that you were not in school, and you're refused. If I was the student that was refused based on the fact that I am not currently in school, I'm not going to reapply. I'm going to do reconsideration. I'm going to attach my transcripts, my proof of enrollment verification. Maybe I didn't put it before. I'm going to ask, could you rethink? Could you look at this
Mm,
with fresh eyes, or could another officer look at it for me? I'm currently a student. This is my transcript. This is my enrollment verification. It is written by the registrar, for crying out loud. Nobody comes up with that document on their own, right? So when we
mhm.
say reconsideration, you, the applicant, know that what the officer said or what the officer is asking for that made them refuse you is something within your powers to provide. I think is a good ground. You don't have to go all the way to JR, judicial review, or reapplication.
Awesome. So just before we
Reconsideration is
go,
not a reapplication like that. It is
okay,
done via web form. But you pick the important documents that you submitted before, do a letter of explanation, and though you cannot reapply, it's not a reapplication. The
thank
officer
you.
must have mentioned something germane that you missed out, and oh, this was my error. You ask them, please, could you rethink, redecide this thing because I'm furnishing you with what you said was missing. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much. Yes, exactly. That does. I was about to um, ask a question. Is it possible for you to do a reconsideration and you don't hear back?
It is possible.
Yeah.
I have done a consideration for a client, and I felt so guilty because this is my childhood friend. This is my buddy in the university. The person was not letting us do our thing, professional. No, no, no. Abu said, no, 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 no. We had enough money. The clients had enough money, and it was refused for proof of fund. It was
Wow.
annoying. You have money, you paid school fees, you have GIC account in Canada, they have POF of
Wow.
almost a 100 million, and someone say you don't have money. That's a good ground for reconsideration. So I said, you know what? Let's do a GCMS note. This person went online and sent us an email saying GCMS note takes 6 months now, that they cannot wait. Let's
Wow.
do a reconsideration. I said, it's not safe. Reconsideration was responded to in exactly 10 days, and it says you have not addressed the reason for the refusal. So there is nothing to reconsider. So I said to the person, I said, you know what? Let us do our job the way we do it. Let's wait.
Mm,
When the reason came, the officer mentioned that in March of 2020, whatever year, on XYZ date, you made They found some monies, like 10 million came in on so day, 6 million came in
Another
on
huge
so
sum of
date,
money.
and that there was no remark. So you think they don't go through the proof of fund?
They do.
Better have a rethink, you know. And this money was legitimate money, right? The person had a side business, so we had to. So it just shows that when you go give a professional your job, just let them do their work. Don't say you know better. If you know better, you don't need to go see a professional.
You
So
do it
now
yourself,
go back
or
in
you
square
or you,
one.
or you
We have
come for the review, or you do it
exactly.
and then come for the review.
So we did another reconsideration explaining those monies, and we
Okay.
never heard from them. This
Awesome.
is true
So
life story. Yes.
uh, when it comes to let me also state this. I remembered we had an application. This individual had close to $3 million. I didn't say 3 million naira, $3 million, and this individual was still refused on proof of fund. So I got very, I'm like, this person does not have enough finance asset. I said, finance or asset. I said, excuse me. We wrote reconsideration and we didn't hear back.
Hmm.
So we had to do a reapplication. This time around, we now had to address the only concern that the officer had, which was this concern of fund. Okay, this individual has this X amount. This individual came about, because it's not just enough to say I have money.
How did you come about the money?
How did you come about the money? Is one of the most important things also that one has to look into. So we did that. We addressed the concerns, and yes, the individual got the visa. We've had cases of individuals who had $500 million, and then you just keep asking how much exactly does an individual need to have in order for them to qualify, uh, in order for them to qualify, or not get this refusal that has to do. So my own submission, while I will be taking more one or two additional questions from either our Instagram or from our YouTube pages, that reasons given has been established that they are generic. It does not mean when they say finance or they say funds, does not mean you do not have the funds. It might be more to the funds. You might need a lot of explanations to the funds. And because in most of the cases, we have seen individuals who say, oh, all I want is, there is what we call my bank statement for those of us who are joining from Nigeria. My bank statement does not give us the daily activity of your account. It only gives us a one sheet transmitted directly to the embassy. And so for us, in most of the cases, we ask you for that paper one. Let's see. There might be transactions that are high up. Oh, I'm a business person. For instance, we had a case very recently of a man that was sponsoring the wife who is a business owner. The application was refused, and when we requested for the note, it says, oh, the husband is the only one that is a director in the company. So they are not sure the wife has access to the funds. I'm like, really? The individual did the application, got refused, and came to us. So we tried to check, and then we're able to address it. So in most of the cases, you need to first check. And how can you check? If you reach out to Abosede, you reach out to ourselves, we're more than excited to help you request the real reasons. And if the reasons are still not stated on the GCMS note, like she has mentioned, then a step goes further in getting uh, through the JR, the judicial review. Now, the word of difference is an immigration consultant cannot get you a JR. That's why we have brought in a lawyer, so that they can let you know that, okay, don't worry, when it comes to going to court, we will be here for you. lawyers lawyers are the ones who can go to court. My own is just to wave you from the gate of the court and say thank you. Mine is just to say thank you. But when it comes to judicial review, yes, That's what they do. They are willing to. And unlike some parts of the world where we see court as don't go area, they can. If I go to court now, they may never allow me to come to Canada again for where. Oh, my family has never gone to court. I mean, we don't see the case of court. Some of us wake up every morning and then we start praying, Lord, today, oh, don't let me see the case of court. Going, going to court is not out of place. You're simply saying these documentations, I think there is a need to have another officer reevaluate it. You're only simply saying, I think I need more. Not just this. My documentations, I have them correct. And for individuals also, and at the point when you have the GCMS note, if you have it and you are not able to even interpret, that is also a part where you can book a consultation. If you do with Abosede, if you do with us, we sit you down and explain. It is not just enough to read. Um, Bring Christians, there was a man, the Ethiopian Enoch. He was reading, and then he was not understanding. And then Philip had to come and say, do you understand what you are reading? He said, no. This thing is looking like Greek. So in case you get your GCMS note and it appears like Greek or Egun or whatever, or it appears like French, and you are not able to, then you can also bring it out just to review and suggest, okay, I don't want to go to court. Court is expensive. I want to give it another shot. Then you can at that point speak to a lawyer or speak to a consultant. And then they're able to advise you and say, okay, this, they review your application. You know, the beauty of using a lawyer or a consultant is simple. When they put up the application, they may probably be able to say, okay, I think based on experience, and like she has told you, that you are refused does not mean you have done anything wrong. And that you are approved does not necessarily mean you have done everything right. Or that you are approved once does not mean you have done everything right. She shared her life experience with us, saying, "Oh, you know what? For 4 times, we had a client. We had a client that was refused 4 times. This guy, they kept saying, "Oh, finance." This guy brought the dad, brought another uncle, and funny enough, unlike some parts of the world, like for instance in the UK, you are not able to bring in an external sponsor. It would either be your parent or yourself. That's what it is with the UK. But in Canada, you're able to bring in an external sponsor. It simply means in this case of this guy, his dad had some funds. The dad was going to be the one to bear the tuition, but he had an uncle who he was depending on, like a family support kind of thing, who was going to be the individual who was going to get the in terms of the support for his living expenses and every other thing, and that has to be married. And when we checked the refusal, the guy kept 4 times, four times.
Wow.
And you know the thing about Canada is they are not saying you cannot apply 100 times as long as you are not bad, not be bad. So you may keep applying, and
Yes.
then the pressure keeps coming on you. Oh, each time I apply, I have to pay. And you know the funny thing is, each time you apply, you have to pay the application fee. Without the application fee, nothing. So for me, usually what I would recommend for guys is you have been refused, request for the GCMS note. If you're able to do it yourself, fantastic. You are not able to, speak to us. We would be more than happy to get you started on this. I've also seen something very recently, where if you don't have your provincial attestation letter for individuals who are coming in, for, for individuals, have you seen that recently? Have you seen that recently? For
Yeah,
individuals
some
who apply without the
yeah, some some
PAL.
some some colleagues shared it. That's why we partner with professionals like A3 Immigration because there are schools in Canada that will get you into trouble. I've met people who say, "Oh, my school has DLI." It's not just about DLI. You don't want to spend all that money and not get a postgraduate work permit. So without a PAL right now, don't
I
even
think
get
I
me
think
outside.
it was about 2 weeks ago. Someone just shared, no, last week. Someone shared with me and said my application got refused. I'm like, okay, and then sent me the refusal letter, and then it says, oh, we tried confirming from your school, and your school could not confirm to us that you were were. They said they sent you
Letter
the
of
letter. I'm
acceptance.
like,
Yeah.
really? Is that really
Is that a
happening?
thing? Yeah.
Even in Canada? So right now it is automatic refusal or return of your application if you don't have the provisional attestation letter. Automatic. And please also, uh, I would want to also, as we begin to wrap up on this session, is that you have taken a master's degree program, you want to come to take a bachelor's degree in the same field. Forget it. Don't do JR, don't do SR, don't do any. You have taken a, maybe for instance you have gotten to a master's degree in let me say business administration, right? Your first degree was in business administration, your second degree was in business administration, then all of a sudden you are coming to say I want to take a bachelor's degree in business administration. There's nothing you want to learn in all of these stages that you have not learned at your undergraduate or your postgraduate level. Please get it. But if you are taking something that is related but with international touch, I read somebody's statement of purpose and I was, I was just I was just rolling on the floor. I said, I know I've done this course before, but I want to add international touches to it. I
Oh
say,
yeah.
correct, international man.
It's
So
allowed.
those are part of the errors you need to
Avoid.
for us to do that. And then thank you for these notes. We are not agents. We are licensed professionals. Agents are people who can see anything and do anything and get away with anything because they have nothing to lose. Uh, Consultants at every point, lawyers at every point. We are managed by organized different bodies who checkmates us A to Z. Well, we're just about rounding off. Now we are grossing close to 1,700 individuals who are connecting with us
Wow.
on
Thank
this
you for
live.
joining.
I want to save 3 minutes and just help us with a recap for those who are just joining us. We are just about rounding off.
Okay. Thank you
I
for
have
joining.
Abosede here. She's a lawyer in Nigeria as well as a lawyer here in Canada. She has been able to tell us what we need to know, especially with the visa refusal management. I'm going to let her do a recap. I'm just trying to see what I can do within this time. All right, so I'm going to over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Let's
you,
do a recap
everyone.
and then we can move. Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time here talking about your visa applications. You have applied for visa to Canada, whatever visa, work, study. But we made study our focal point because study seems to be like the easiest application you could do yourself if
Mm,
you're patient, if you're given to details. So when you see us talking about student visa, don't think that's the only thing we do. That's not the only thing we do. Everything immigration. So we're just using study route as example. So if you're refused a visa application, study visa application, for example, what do you do? We're saying it's dangerous and psychologically painful for you to keep reapplying and reapplying. It makes you second guess yourself, like, what's the big deal about this country called Canada? What have I
mm,
done wrong? There are steps to take. If you were refused and the reason for refusal, there are so many generic reasons for refusal. Google will help you. Just Google what are the generic refusals or look at your own. Whatever you see on your hand is probably not you alone. Someone else has been through that route. So we say
mm,
the first step to do is request for what is called GCMS note. These are the
Mm.
notes. The visa officer who did the application has some written notes as to the reason why they are not satisfied that you should get a visa. But that note is usually not put on the. Imagine someone refusing and saying, "I'm refusing Mr. Dr. Akinwade this application because he's single, he doesn't have children."
Mm.
Nobody's going. They do not do that. It is not usually the norm. But you're going to see a generic reason like you have not satisfied me that you would go back at the end of your program or something like that. So request for a GCMS note.
Mm.
Requesting for GCMS note is not all in all. At times GCMS notes comes back. Another word for GCMS notes means the reason, the notes, electronic notes of the visa officer who handled the
Mm.
application. That's what
Mm.
when you hear that word GCMS notes. Global Case Management System is the written note of the visa officer who handled your application. At times they come back redacted. Redacted means color coded like black. You see pages of documents, instead of you to see something like this, you see black, 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 black. So
Mm.
if that happens, it doesn't leave you in a better position. It makes life harder for you, right?
Mm.
The next stage is to apply for a judicial review, which you cannot do yourself. You're going to need licensed consultant. You're going to need a lawyer, so that you can seek the opinion of a licensed consultant to direct you to a lawyer who they think in their field knows what they're doing. Right.
Mm.
Okay. Now that's in case you have a redacted GCMS note, or that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
We also mentioned that it is possible you see a GCMS note that addresses an error which you can own. For instance, someone refuses your application based on the fact that you did not include your letter of acceptance. We do not think you're a student. That's easy, right? If the GCMS note says this application lacked letter of acceptance, how do we know you're coming as a student? There is what is called reconsideration, aka revisit, aka rethink your decision. That one
Mm.
is not a reapplication. It is done via web form. You think through and make sure if you forgot to put a letter of acceptance, who knows what else you have forgotten to put. So before you do the reconsideration, seek the consultation of a lawyer or a licensed consultant. I didn't say agent. If you look at that word, I'm very careful with the word. I did not say agent. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but you just need to get a second eye, a professional eye to look at it for you. What else did I miss other than this letter of acceptance? So if it was
Mm.
just something as trivial, it is trivial to them. It wasn't trivial to you. Just let me just do this. There's a video on YouTube on how to apply for study permit. You put it on
One
and you
thousand
start.
and one ways to get your visa.
We're not throwing anyone under the bus. It's good if you go through it and you succeed. Kudos to you. In case you do not succeed while going through it, seek a professional eye to review for you. You can pay them to review for you so you don't make that mistake again. That's what's reconsideration. Reconsideration is not reapplication. It doesn't even allow you to put a lot of documents. I think it's like 3 MB, sir. So
Yes.
cracking, it's a web form,
Not more than 4 MB.
no more than 4 MB. You explain, you address what you saw in the GCMS note. So let's assume your GCMS note does not address anything. I mean, like we painted the scenario of visa officer refusing based on the GCMS note for reasons like, oh, you're coming with your child, you will not study. You're never going to study because the child is too young. Or you're single, you're not married. How do you want to come to Canada and go back? Right?
Yeah.
That's a bias reason. It is not allowed for a
Mm.
visa officer to bring their personal bias to bear. They have policy and guidelines. Policy and there are policy and guidelines guiding every officer in determining how an application's outcome will look like. So that's what we've talked about. And we said the final part is the court. I'm a Nigerian, so I'm going to use Nigeria as an example, and I'm a lawyer in Nigeria too. The court has always been relied upon. The courts have always been relied upon as the the arbiter of the ordinary man on the street. Yes, we might have seen situations where the courts failed us in Nigeria. The courts here try as much as possible. They try not they try as much as possible to go with the court direction in determining to make. I mean, it was a big deal for me when Canada when Canada had this landmark decision that no visa officer should refuse on the basis of travel history. I was a victim of refusal based on travel history, And it came to their notice, if we do not go to the court in Canada to complain about refusals, the court will not know who brings it to the. So judicial review is a way of bringing to the court notice, my lord,
Has
these
gone.
and these are what is happening to us.
This
So
is
help us, so save us, So judicial
Thank you
review is
so
the
much. Thank you so
that's the
much,
last part.
Ambassador.
Thank you very
It's a
much.
pleasure getting to have you here with
Thank you,
us.
sir.
I'm sure you want to reach out to her. You've got concerns you want her to help or address. If you reach out to her, A O. I'm trying to spell it for you so that way you know the name of the law firm. Once you put it on Google, on Google, A O or A or Abosede or
Abadede
O
law
law
office.
firm. You see there, just write her name, copy it there. You see it there. Uh, and then, of course, you join us, A3 Immigration. We'll be more than excited. We work together. She's a pretty good fellow who is knowledgeable with this field. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for connecting, everyone.
thank you.
Please refer to your friends. Let them join us. Next week, we'll be looking at scholarships. Let's talk about scholarships in Canada. A lot of issues, a lot of somebody says scholarships, or somebody is saying, oh, I can I get fundings. We'll be exploring that option next week, Friday. We'll send out the flyers as well for everyone to be a part of it. To everyone who has joined us this afternoon, it's already 12:07, and I'm not sure it's around 1:07 there in Manitoba
Yes, sir.
already.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are excited and we can't but get excited the more getting you on this journey. Canada is looking for you. Why not?
Always looking for
Come
you
and join
here.
us. Thank
Come
you so
join us.
much,
It's
everyone.
lonely here.
Take
Yeah.
care and bye bye. Thank you. Bye.